What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Off the Couch Boxing. I'm your host, Reckless Rex Ruger, along with, as always, the Alexis Arguello puppet.
And I'm your other host, Rexx and Bengz, back with another one.
Yes, we are. Took a little hiatus. Was on my deathbed last week with pneumonia, drawing up my last will and testament, but it doesn't seem like it's come to that. Maybe a little overly dramatic. Still a little hoarse in the pipes.
Hypochondriac is the proper word.
Yeah. Still a little hoarse in the throat, but our guest is here now. That's always good. Promptness is always appreciated here on Off the Couch Boxing. Not always. Grover, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm up on a ladder.
You're up on a ladder. Hey, that's dangerous. Is that more dangerous than boxing?
You know what? It hurts worse because I fell off the roof a couple times. I can't remember all the pain in boxing, but falling off the roof hurts sometimes.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Oh, buddy. It hurt my feet pretty bad a couple years ago.
Can't hear you, Benji's.
Oh.
Now I can.
I lost you. Where'd you go?
Just got to activate your camera back on there. Bottom of the screen. Should be like a camera button down there. There you go. There you go.
Perfect.
So Grover, first of all, I got to ask, man, how does a guy like you get into boxing, man? If you can go all the way back to the beginning of your career, man, what was it for you that kind of catapulted you into the sport?
So I was always in taekwondo, wrestling, all that good stuff. So I always wanted to fight. I always wanted to kickbox, actually, but back then there wasn't much going on. And so anyways, we were at I was a pretty good wrestler, better than average. We had a boxing match. We got snowed in, so school was canceled. So all the wrestlers and the football players had a boxing tournament at school. It was over to Buddy's house, and I was always ambidextrous, so I was better with my left side than my right side. I'm right-handed, and man, I was just cracking these guys, big, small, didn't matter. When I hit them with the left hook, they would go to sleep. So someone told me about a boxing gym, and I went down to it, and never looked back. I quit wrestling my senior year, right before the state tournament. Didn't realize why the coach was so mad at me. He just had boxed. I think I boxed 2 years and turned pro after that, and just never looked back.
Did you have much of it? Go ahead, Benji.
I'm going to ask, do you have any idols coming up? Like,
oh man,
Chavez, or anyone else?
Chavez was my idol. Mildred Kaler, Roy Jones, but Chavez was my favorite fighter of all times. I'd had his those greatest hits. I'd watch him fight everybody. He fought just constantly. So yeah, it was.
Is it difficult when you ultimately step into a ring with him? Because you've been in there with senior and junior. You have the distinct, the distinction of being in there with both of them.
It's horrible. You never want to meet your idols. I mean, I idolized him, and then when I had the chance to fight him, I thought, I thought it was just an athletic event. I never thought it was so serious. So a friend of mine came up to. This is when I first realized how much I didn't like him. So when my brother-in-law came up to watch the fight, or came to watch fighting, and he had one of my shirts on, and he went up to him, and then Chavez pretty much told him to, jump off a bridge, and anything else you could say that was derogatory in Spanish. So my friend was, Hispanic, and also he's a Mexican guy. So he just turned around and he said, yeah. He's like, I don't think he wants to get a picture with me.
Yeah.
I said, well, what'd he say? And he told me, and I was like, oh man, that's terrible.
Now talk a little bit about your relationship and how you came to, how you guys entered each other's lives. You happen to have a very close relationship with probably the best boxer on the planet right now, in Bud Crawford.
Oh, but I've been telling people since the beginning of time. People thought I was crazy, but you could just tell. I mean, so I was a pro in the gym, and there was Bo Mack was a pro in the gym. It was me, Bo Mack, Saul, Red was Red. These are all his trainers.
Yep.
So Red was like Bud's age, a little older. But so he was on the amateur team also. So we'd all fight, and then the next weekend we'd take the kids somewhere, and then we'd take them somewhere else, and we'd raise money, and we were always on the road. Those guys got tons of fights all over the place, and they were so good, and and then Bud, you just always knew. So he was always my sparring partner. Everyone would think it was the funniest thing ever. I'd be training, and I say, well, I got to wait for, I'm waiting for, whatever to get finished, and then Bud would be out to be my sparring partner. This is when I was in Florida, and everybody thought it was so funny I was bringing somebody from Nebraska to be my sparring partner, since that's where I left, from.
Yeah.
And anyways, he'd come in and, oh man, 18 years old, he'd whoop everybody. It didn't matter who it was, big, small. He beat me, and then everybody. I mean, he never got tired. So he'd whoop everybody in the gym, man.
Yeah,
everybody.
Do you find that you think that he won the fight? He should have won the Fighter of the Year for this past year, even though I knew he fought twice and won.
I think he's. I think so, but I'm biased.
Right. Yeah.
I'm biased. He's the best. He's the best there is of everybody. I don't see him getting beat. He doesn't get hit. When he does get hit, he doesn't get hit solid. He rolls with it. He fights exactly how we were taught to fight, but it's so hard to always be doing the right thing. If his coaches tell him not to knock him out and just to box, he does it. Where other people, like me, for instance, I was told to box at times. Well, I want to crush him. I want to.
Yeah.
You get hit, and all of a sudden the game plan goes out the window. Well, not with him. He gets hit, and he sticks to his game plan. It's a game plan that he doesn't divert off of.
Which interestingly enough, we did have Bomac on the show, and that was one of the questions we did ask. Because obviously we saw Bud come out. And, the performance he put on against Errol Spence, and he boxed from the southpaw stance in the whole fight. And we were curious to ask Bomac, if Bud does make those kind of adaptations on the fly, if he has the confidence to not really correct them when he comes back to the corner. And he says whenever Bud sees out there and Bud feels like he needs to do, he trusts him.
Yep. And they have a game plan, and we've all, like, I stepped away because I started doing my own thing out in the construction business, and I was ready to move on, and you know what I'm saying. But I'm always in the ringside. I'm always their cheering section. So, but they have a game plan and they stick to it. There's no diverting off. If they make adjustments, just like any athletic team, like NFL team. If the run's getting smashed, then at the end of the corner, like when they go to sit down or the end of the quarter, whatever, they're going to make adjustments, or on the fly, they make adjustments, or they figure it out for a little while and make adjustments. And then when the adjustments are made, then that's what they do, and he's so precise, and he's so smart.
Is there any concern? Would there be any concern, on your part when you hear him talking about, wanting to do, these amazing feats, like jump up a couple more weight conferences and fight a guy like Canelo? Is he cut from that cloth? He strikes me as a guy that can get that done.
It don't make any difference. He'll go up in weight class. I've watched him spar heavyweights. I mean, his whole career. Steven Nelson. You know what I mean? Steven Nelson is undefeated. I mean, he had some injuries, but that guy is a stud, man. And that's his training partner. Those guys spar like they're, like Bud's his weight class. What's he, 178?
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, it doesn't, I'm not saying that he's invincible, but if there's a weakness in the opponent, he's going to find it and he's going to pick it apart. Canelo, I don't think there's any problem with Canelo. And Canelo's known for a long time. You know what I mean? The long time. This ain't the first time this conversation has been brought up about those two fighting. But Bud will beat him in a circle, just like Mayweather. You know what I mean? He's gonna beat him, because I think he's better than Mayweather. But that's another thing. But he's gonna box him in a circle. And then once he finds out how he's gonna stop him, he'll probably stop him. I don't see anybody there right now in those weight classes. Like 154, I wouldn't want to see him go up past that. But 154, I don't see anybody beating him, because he's naturally probably going to walk around, 150 pounds, 154, 165. But either way, so he's 5'9". You know what I mean? He's not short. Or is he
Right.
5? I think he's 5'9". Yeah, because I'm 5'7",
Yeah.
where I was. I think I've shrunk to 5'6".
Yeah, well, join the club.
My wife's like, you're not 5'7", you're about 5'6". I'm like, here we go. I mean, what? Just keep the shots coming.
So to kind of like change direction here a little bit, I know we got this coming up soon, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. What do you make of these gimmick fights all together, like Francis Ngannou fighting and Jake Paul and all that?
You know, it's great. It's great for the for UFC guys, because those guys are making more money in one fight than they make in their whole career, probably times 10. You know,
I was saying the other day, they argue over who's the best boxer in the UFC, but then they say they don't care about boxing, but they care about being the best boxer, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, and not to keep I don't know, not to keep sharing Terence on, but I'll tell you right now, I always said if he would have entered the UFC also or ever, he will be a UFC champion and a real boxing champion. He'll be the
we talked
first
about
one
that
ever.
with Bomac. We talked about that with Bomac, how like when he was coming into Errol
He'll
Spence
smash
fight, how
all of them.
Yeah, how he was looked at as not being the bigger, stronger guy, but Bud is deceptively strong. People don't seem to realize that. But
Strong, and smart. I'm telling you, and he can wrestle. He grew up in a wrestling gym. You know what I mean? Little Joe. I mean, North 30. I mean,
I'd love to see him take that chance.
Hey, man, his son's a stud wrestler. His boys, they got some superstar athletes. But he was. I mean, is a great athlete. Basketball, wrestling, but wrestling for the UFC. You know, and back to the Jake Paul. I just want to see. I want to see Tyson, rip him in half for one thing.
Yeah.
With them body shots but yeah, I think it's cool for the UFC. I don't know. I think it's kind of a joke for the boxing right now. But if anybody trains as hard as 7 days a week or 6 days a week, 6 hours a day to do something, they're going to get good eventually.
Sure. Yeah.
I think Jake is doing that.
Yep. And I think I don't have any problem with it. I never even thought, I never thought I was going to be a boxer until I was 17. So what is Jake Paul? How old is he?
Oh, he's got to be young 20s, 20.
Yeah. So he's not too old. Look at Steven Nelson. He didn't start boxing until he was, I think, in the military, and then he won the National Golden Gloves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's from Omaha, so we haven't had. So but he was in the military somewhere else, so they got the credit for it. But he's from Omaha. You know what I mean?
Now, do you remember any fights in your career that wanted to have happen that didn't come to fruition?
Camacho Jr. I just never signed with him. I had some good fights, but it was so hard if you didn't knock him out to win, the distance, when you went the distance with him. But I would have loved to fight Camacho Jr. I thought there was talks about that one time. Other than that, not really.
What was the one fight that you are there any fights on your resume that you feel like didn't go your way but really should have gone your way?
Dimitri Salita, I thought, but and I watch the tapes now and I see things a little different, but I lost 10-round fight to Dimitri Salita, and I thought I did enough, but when I'm watching it now, I don't think so. Other than that, Greg Haugen. I
just
finished reading his book. I feel like
we just had him on a couple weeks ago, and he doesn't do a lot of interviews, so it was kind of cool having him on though. But so, what did you make of the Greg Haugen fight? Did you feel like that was a fight that you won?
Yeah, because he beat me. But I wish I could get footage of it because he's got a sledgehammer right hand. But I knew it and I had practiced for it. So we over and over all that. Mouth Strauss. Remember Mouth Strauss?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So he always tell me, kid, you got to work the defense. He started slowing down a little bit, but he had told me, open that hand when he throws that right hand, open the hand and roll with it and just come back with a short shot. So of course, none of that clicked at first. I'd practiced it and all that, but I'm in the second round and I hear Midge, my trainer. So that was Bud and Bomax and all of our trainers. And he's like, move the other way. He's setting you up with the right hand, right? And right when he said that, that right hand came right down the middle. A sledgehammer hit me, right? Boom. So I'm on my butt. Well, I don't even realize that at first. And you remember the TVs when the screen went out and you could just have the line?
Yes, of course.
So that's where it came to. The line came across, and I seen somebody in the background, and it was the referee, and he's going 6, 7. And I jump up and he's like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, what? You know, I didn't even know how the hell did I even get down there? That was the craziest thing. All I can hear is Midge say he's setting you up for the right hand. So he comes at me, right? He comes at me. Well, then I hear Mouse Strauss in my other ear, and he's like, yeah, just open your hand up. He's like, you won't believe the difference. So I open the hand up and I just start rolling. I start rolling with the punches and taking it back to the body. And next thing you know, is the 10th round. And I beat him from ring post to ring post. He couldn't hit me with that right hand, and I was on him. I was on him, hitting him with body shots, hitting him with arm shots, everything. But that was up in Portland, Oregon. That was, and the crowd booed. The crowd booed.
It's his stomping ground.
The crowd booed when they announced him the winner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's and I always forget about that one, because that was a good one.
If they booed him on the decision, though, that's his stomping grounds out there. Northwest.
It was. It was.
Yeah.
They started cheering for me. They were calling me Pretty Boy or something. I wish I don't know what I did with the article, but they were calling me Pretty Boy, and I was in pretty good shape for that fight. When we had a whole training camp for it, instead of just getting called in 2 weeks notice, and me not being in shape like I should have been. I had every chance, but I wasn't like Bud, but Bud got to see. He would always ask me, man, why don't you just stay in the gym? You're being great. You'll be ready for when they call these guys. And I tell them, man, don't worry about me. You just get up, we're getting ready to spar. Don't worry about me or whatever. You know what I mean? So maybe I was put there for him to see me mess up. And not, and he knows to stay in shape all the time, because you never know when you're gonna get the call.
Sure. But now we mentioned, we've obviously talked about Bud, but as you keep an eye on the sport, are there other guys currently doing it right now that you're a fan of, that you like to keep an eye on their career?
Well, I'm very surprised with the fight last night. I went to bed because I thought that was going to be a joke, and he faked me out too. Garcia. I mean, I thought for sure he was overweight, so he wasn't taking it serious. He wasn't training.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was all set up now. Like everyone, I don't know. It's crazy. And then how crazy he was acting in the beer.
I don't think those Haney's are going for any setup where Devin loses, though.
No, not like that. No. I mean, do you think that he played a game with everybody and they thought, a setup like that? No,
without a doubt.
Like that. No, hell no. Those they ain't
the crazy man routine.
No, they'd rather die than go some business like that. You know what I mean? There ain't no way.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about that fight last night, because did you watch it?
This morning, because I thought it was going to be a bunch of BS. I was disappointed. I was disappointed because he didn't make weight, and I'm like, I'm thinking, geez, he ain't serious. He's just going in for a payday. Then he don't care that it was 1.5 million. Well, then this morning I find out that he bet $2 million on himself. Right?
He made 12. Made 12.
Yep.
$12 million, and he beat the brakes off him. And then then they had one referee that had it even, and he must. I don't know what he's watching, but
every time Ryan went to this mode, getting beat up.
I thought that was terrible
for Ryan.
No, that's terrible. He's got to be so sore today. His rib, they have to
He's
be.
off the front foot.
No, it was a terrible look. I couldn't stand that. I thought that was a terrible look. But whatever he did, I don't know. Well, what he did was that left hook, because that left hook was payday last night.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
He's got dynamite in that hand.
Dynamite fire, but every time he hit it, it was like an explosion going off. Boom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then he's up on his feet, dancing and
drunk.
The
front foot. When he was up the front foot, he was dominant.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful left hook. He was just firing him.
And it's also kind of nice to see that Haney's a little bit humble though, too. That's kind of satisfying.
Especially Bill needed it.
Yeah.
Man, I can't. Yeah, I have no comment on that, because I just can't. I can't stand to even look at him.
Yeah,
I think it's an embarrassment for boxing the way he acts. But either way, that's their business, and that's how they are. I guess I don't know. I don't know what. It just kind of disappoints me how he acts. But
so getting back to which has got to be one of, if not the biggest moment in your career. Going back to the Chavez fight, are you absolutely shocked at the fact that you not only beat him, but the way that you beat him? I mean, he doesn't come back out.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was. I mean, but those last couple of rounds, especially the last round, I was hitting him with. And like I said, I watched his fights. I mean, I like my first time I fought on ESPN, I used his go-to move. Slip that jab, that
Yeah.
uppercut to the body, and straight right over top. Bam, and I knocked. I had my knockdown on TV, but I'd watched his fights over and over and over and over again, and I practiced on the heavy bag, and I practiced on the heavy bag. So then when I fought him, it was like, I was scared to death the first round, and Midge told me, he's like, you don't start throwing some punches, then when you come back to this corner, I'm not going to be here because you're not going to embarrass me in front of all these people, and on TV. And I said, okay. He's like, just punch, man. Don't freeze on me. So then I went out and I started working that jab and those hooks, and the hooks start landing, and then throwing to the body shots, and just everything that we had worked on, and then the body shots and up the middle. And I think that's what had hurt him, because I'm hitting him with those arm shots first because he was covering up good with the body shots, but they started sinking in. So the harder I hit his arms, he would grunt, and then the opening for the body shot was landing. And then
were there any similarities? Were there any similarities in fighting him and his son, who's widely regarded as somebody that didn't quite measure up to where Pops measured up to, but
he was
certainly had a lot of talent.
But he was just huge. I can't stand either one of them, and it's it's bad because that's who I idoled. But I never idoled Chavez Jr. If I could have got him at 140 pounds, we signed contracts at 140 pounds to begin with, because they were worried about me making the weight. And I said, don't worry about me. I always make weight. So then next thing you know, he grew. And then he grew. Then he went 47. Then we changed the contract to 47. So then 2 years after we start talking about this fight, we end up fighting. He can't even make 154. He's sucking weights. Let me tell you this story. So Bud is in the corner with me as we come up. Bud said, oh my God, look at his legs. And I said, man, I see how big his legs are. He's like, he's huge. He's like, you shouldn't have took this fight. I said, man. So then I just thought I couldn't stand him. I thought I was going to run through him, and he caught me with that body shot. Same thing we knew was going to happen, but the emotions, and then I'm standing up straight with him instead of like we had worked on, and staying compact. Right. And I want to take his head off, so I'm standing up, and then he just set me up, come down in that body shot, and that was, whew. I tried to get up and move on, but I couldn't shake it off.
And now, so tell people a little bit about what before we let you out of here. Life after boxing. What's life after boxing like? Do you have any involvement in the sport? I know for a while you had a gym down there. Is that still something you're doing?
Oh yeah, I'm at my gym now. I train fighters here and there. Some guys come through with the mitt work. That's my specialty. So it depends. I try to. The gym is more for the everyday person. Everyday person comes in, and I have my contracting company. So my gym is here. Then my contracting company is right here on the corner.
Convenient.
So it's
very convenient.
Yeah, very convenient. And then a lot of my trainers from here I've turned into my salesmen and my project managers next door. It's a networking thing. It's kind of a cool deal. So
now when Bud is in Omaha,
I like that. Promoting within. I like that.
Oh yeah.
And now when Bud is in Omaha, does Bud frequent the gym?
Omaha, Nebraska. His Ish has trained here. I haven't seen him for a while. They've been on a mission, so they come here once in a while. I talk to them all the time. I'm gonna go one of these machines that I thought would be good for Bo Mack. I'm gonna take this down to them. He's gonna buy this hip mill from me. I'm kind of consolidating some of the stuff I have, and I'm gonna find a different spot. But yeah. So
the last question I want to ask you is, and you mentioned a few guys before, but you're Mount Rushmore of boxers. Mount Rushmore for Grover Wiley.
I mean, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield. I'm not going back with the old school guys because we already know them. But mine, I would be Terence Crawford would be the number one. And I loved Evander Holyfield. Mike Tyson, of course, that was was like the Superman of my era in the boxing.
He sure was.
Roy Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, those are my top. De La Hoya.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get 4, isn't it?
It is hard. It is hard. Yeah.
And I'm gonna go ahead and say it, but even though he's never been very cordial to me, but Chavez was always my favorite. So.
And that's so funny too, because you always hear people say, "Don't meet your heroes," and you said it in this interview too. And now you meet Chavez, and you do not like him.
I'm fighting Chavez Jr. and I'm down on the ground. I look over and his dad's grabbing his crotch and flipping me off, and I'm going, "Oh man, I could have did without that visual." You know what I mean? You're a hero, you know, and then you look up and he's
Well, we had Greg Haugen on the show, and obviously Greg Haugen got under his skin with the old Tijuana cab drivers line.
Yeah,
you and me are thinking the same.
I appreciate that a lot more now.
Yeah,
I think it's over really well. That. Do you like that more now that he said Tijuana?
Oh, way more. Way more.
I mean, he did pay for it. He did end up paying for it, but I mean,
yeah.
But I mean, you know, it's still an iconic line from the annals of boxing history. So I mean, it's
that was a good one.
And a damn ballsy thing to say, but I mean, you know, certainly Greg Haugen didn't lack balls.
No, he didn't either, or a right hand. He had a sledgehammer right hand. I think that's probably one of the hardest I've ever been hit. You know, I felt like the bones in my face were cracking. I sat down in between the rounds, and Midge is like, "Yeah, how you feeling?" And I said, "Oh, I just feel like my face is broken." He's like, "There ain't nothing wrong with your head. You're getting hit because you're not moving it. Move it." And I said, "Oh, yes, sir."
And so before we let you out of here, what was the biggest moment, do you think, of your career? Was it the Chavez win? Was it something else personal to you?
Yeah, definitely the Chavez win. I mean, yeah, that was a great time period. You know, great.
I mean, making
great
the iconic Chavez Sr. quit on his stool is pretty damn big. You know.
Yeah, it was huge. Yeah, so. That would definitely be the first. I mean, I loved after that win, I finally got the fights I wanted. I mean, I went up in weight class because I didn't care. You know, I was ready to retire. And then that fight happened. I took the fight, and then I just rode the wave. You know, I took those fights with those bigger guys, and I took some with some guys that were undefeated that were, you know, I just got to fight the ones that I always wanted to fight for a minute. So and it was cool. You know what I mean? I didn't get the wins, which was fine. I was there, and I would give 110%. So
all anybody could ask. Yeah. Well, listen, Grover, we really appreciate this. This was a lot of fun. I'd like to ask. Please stay in touch. We'd love to have you back on again.
Anytime.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man. And glad life is going good for you, man. And wish you all the best.
Thanks, man. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Have a good one, man. Take care.
All right, take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yep. There he goes, folks. Man, I didn't even get to show him. I got so excited. I wanted to show him my Bud Crawford. This is my prized possession right here. But, well, you know what? He's probably going to go back and watch this interview. So, Grover, I'm very sorry I didn't show you this, but there's a lot of greatness in this picture right here. Boxing and podcasting greatness.
Mostly boxing.
Mostly boxing, yeah. I'm not going to argue with that. But, so that is Grover Wiley. Jesus Christ, man, you're looking at a guy that made, I don't care what stage of his career he was at, even if it was towards the tail end of his career, making Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. quit on his stool. Not an easy task. And he's got the distinction of fighting both father and son. And, of course, he's got, he's been in the ring with Homer Lee Gibbons, who we've had on the show. And, of course.
Yeah, and ultimately, Chavez Sr. was grabbing his balls and flipping them off because he quit on his stool, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's ultimately the reason.
A little bit of sour grapes. It sounds like a little sour grapes, yeah. But that was a pleasure, man. Awesome having him on the show. Appreciate having him on, man. And as you heard him say, man, big props to our former guest and friend of the show, Greg Haugen, man, who you heard it. Sledgehammer right hand. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a raving endorsement for Greg. Hopefully he will see this.
Greg deserves it. The shout out.
He does. Yeah. Shout out Greg Haugen. He does deserve it. And make sure that you like and follow us on Facebook. And also be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Stay tapped into the best boxing conversations. The convos, as we like to say.
Shout out Gary Busey, because I can go 15 seconds with anything.
And let me remind you that if you want to be a champion, remember, you got to roll with the champs.